Hello and welcome to the Eye on the U podcast, Miami Herald's Miami Hurricanes podcast. I'm David Wilson, and I am joined, as always, on the other line by Susan Miller-Degnan, our Hurricanes beat writer here at the Herald. Susan, what's going on?
Just getting my stuff ready to write my advance for the my preview for Georgia Tech. All is well. The hurricane was a little windy, a lot of rain, but all is well.
A lot of hype for the Hurricane.
A lot of hype for the hurricane and hurricanes.
Exactly.
No, I don't think there's hype for the hurricanes.
It's like really nice outside now. Actually, I'm looking out my window and it looks really nice out, which always happens. It tends to happen after a hurricane. So
I'm looking through my shutters that are kind of these weird plastic kind of, you can see through them and kind of you can't. So
yeah, I can see some blue up there. So anyway, we're trying to put off talking about the Hurricanes, the Miami Hurricanes, because it's gotten bad. You know, how many times we felt like they hit rock bottom this year? Well, they did it again on Saturday, a 45-3 loss to Florida State. We talked last week. I think last week we were like, oh, this game's never a blowout. There's the one time that Miami beat Florida State by
47-0.
Well, Miami lost to Florida State 47-0.
Miami lost, right.
And then a couple of years ago, Miami beat them
52.
Yeah, by 42 points. They're like, that happens so rarely. And now 2 of the last 3 games has been a 42-point win for 2 different teams. Miami on the wrong end of it this week. And it was really like everything that could go wrong went wrong. Obviously, Tyler Van Dyke played a couple snaps. I think he threw 8 passes. Got hurt after, clearly was trying to play through an injury and re-aggravated it on like his 3rd or 4th pass of the game. Then Jake Garcia comes in and basically throws an interception right away. So we're down to, Miami played 3 quarterbacks in the first 17 minutes and gets absolutely obliterated by Florida State. And, I know we're in year 1 of the Mario Cristobal era, and there's still a good chance that this all works out. And Miami, it's going to get better inevitably because Mario's strength is as a recruiter, but there is not a whole lot for Mario Cristobal to hang his hat on this year. If you were totally unaware of the recruiting aspect of this and you just saw Miami losing every game by, they've given up 45 points now 3 times. Like, there is not a lot of positive to take away from this season. And one of the last chances they had to deliver a big, exciting moment in year 1 on the field for Mario Cristobal was Saturday. And instead, it's one of the worst losses of the last 20 years or so for Miami.
Yeah, it was really ugly. I feel like we say that every week. Ugly.
I mean, they've had 3, if you're going to put a list together of the worst losses of the last, basically since like the 2000s glory days, right? Like, they've had 3 of them this year.
Pretty bad. Yeah. My worst loss still to me, the one that seemed the worst. I know they lost 58-0 to Clemson. I know Al Golden got fired the next day. But the one that really felt horrible to me was the last game in the Orange Bowl. I always say that. I think it was 2008, maybe. I think it was. I've got to look. Oh my God, 48-0. I don't know. I've got to look. It was horrible because they came out so pumped up. I mean, they were like dancing around and doing the typical old school Miami, where all that stuff. And, this is, our pride and joy, the Orange Bowl. We're going to just kill Virginia. And then they got just obliterated. They even canceled. I think they canceled the fireworks. I'm not sure for afterwards, but it was horrible. But anyway, I didn't mean to digress, but that was, for me, I think that's always going to be the worst loss, actually.
Yeah. But I mean, the larger point is that is there like a positive? I guess you can look at individual positive performances, but like, there's not a whole lot of positive moments to look at.
No,
it doesn't mean that Mario Cristobal is going to be a failure, but it means like if you're trying to convince a casual fan who's not following recruiting that closely and just knows that Mario Cristobal is this guy who had some success at Oregon, he's alumnus and all that kind of stuff, you throw out all the context, and it's hard to convince anyone that this is there's reasons to be excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I think Mario has convinced he's convinced the young players that all is well. I mean, even talking to some of the three true freshmen
Right.
players who are performing well, or thrown into impossible situations, they're really into Mario. And like you said, the recruits, and I mean, they're all about rebuilding, as Mario would say, and all about the work, as Mario would say.
Yeah.
And I think those guys have bought in. And like I said right before the podcast, I think a lot of guys will be transferring, or in a way sent on their way, whether they want to or not, kind of. But I think Mario really, really believes, it's going to happen. And I don't know. We'll see. But I see that, like, on social media, and the reaction from the country is half, the people who are vocal and speak out, half of them are, just can't stand Mario and whatever, think it's a joke. They're paying $80 million for this coach, and they that he signed whatever, supposedly it's private, but supposedly a 10-year contract for $80 million. They can't believe it. And then half of them, and I tell you what, the Mario supporters, they are, I mean, they are as avid supporters of Mario. They won't budge. It's like they're brainwashed or something. I'm not saying that they have their reasons, and they truly believe he's going to turn the program around, and they believe it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think we should dwell too much on the specifics of the Florida State game, because I don't know, what was there really to learn from that. We saw Miami was down 21-3 in like no time, basically. 31-5, 31-3 at halftime. Is that right? I was on a plane and got off right before halftime. So 31-3 by halftime.
They only scored 3 points. So.
And then I did not watch the second half because it was 31-3, and Jakari Brown was in, and Miami was not doing anything. I mean, it was a total, obviously like a total and complete collapse. Like, the offense was abysmal, has been pretty much abysmal all year. And the defense, which I think we've said a couple times, had some positive moments, was as bad as it has been all year. And we're in that was week 10, game 9. And it was kind of like the worst performance they've had all year, which is obviously not a great sign that they seem to somehow be getting worse. Or at least as other teams are getting better, they're not significantly improving. And again, like, this all goes into the same topic we were talking about. We're like, they're in for a full-scale rebuild. Should they be in this position? Probably not. This team was, 7-5 last year. Got way better as the year went on. Had their star quarterback coming back, and obviously Tyler's been hurt. So it's not 100% fair to say they're like, the offensive collapse is all due to this new coaching staff, but it wasn't looking good when Tyler was in there either. So anyway, I think the two ways to look at it are basically, this is an awful year. It could not, there's nothing positive to look at. I don't think there is. They should be much better, but at the same time, like I said, it doesn't mean that this plan is going to be a failure. And you can see basically Mario's tone shifting as the year goes on, right? Where at the start of the year, he thought the team was going to be competitive. Obviously, like, they were picked to win the Coastal. Not that he has anything to do with that, but I think if you had given him some truth serum, he would have said, "Yeah, we'll be in the race for the Coastal, right?" And maybe we're not the favorite, but we're going to be in the race for it. And obviously,
he's not saying that now.
No, now it's all about we're in for a big rebuild. I mean, he did say it, I think, after the Middle Tennessee game, like, this is a bigger rebuild than I expected. And obviously it's not all about him, because this has been the story for basically 20 years at this point. Losses to bad teams, blowout losses to good teams. But
But David, losing 4 in a row at home,
Yeah.
I have to say, first time in 49 years, like last week, it was awesome. The crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
I was, you know, I was sitting in that press box. We were all amazed. I mean, the start of the game, it was filled. I even shot a video and posted it on Twitter so people could see it was really true. I mean, it was rocking that place, and the fans were much better behaved than the last few games. There wasn't much booing. You barely really couldn't hear much booing. So a lot of them left, but I think they were so excited about a full crowd and it was fun for them. And, you know, I just, I like that didn't even get them pumped up. I mean, I don't know. It just shows how bad it is, really.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've gotten just like all the doom and gloom out of the way, let's move on to a topic you touched on, the freshman class, because that is now, I think, the story of it's the interesting part of this team, and particularly the quarterback spot. Because Tyler Van Dyke obviously got hurt against Duke, did not play against Virginia. Jake Garcia plays in his place, leads Miami to a win in a defensive struggle, 14-12 in quadruple overtime, throws for about 120 yards in that game, but at least doesn't turn the ball over. Then on Saturday, obviously Tyler Van Dyke gets the start, as I said, does not play very much because he re-aggravates that shoulder, that arm. We don't know exactly what the injury was, but he was grabbing at this chest shoulder kind of joint there. Jake Garcia gets a little bit of a look, only throws 2 passes. One of them is an interception. Then Jakari Brown, who now has been a part of the offense pretty much since ACC play has started, his role growing basically every week. Early on, just kind of a short yardage wildcat kind of guy. Virginia, they let him throw a pass. And then obviously he was
into the ground.
And then, on Saturday, he was part of the game plan. On Saturday, he was part of the game plan even before Tyler's injury, right? He got a couple snaps in there. They were rotating both guys pretty heavily, considering the, caliber of quarterback that Tyler Van Dyke is. And then when Jake just falters in his one opportunity, basically on Saturday, Jakari gets the rest of the game, and a true freshman. His numbers were not particularly good either as a passer, but he did run for more than 60 yards. So now this brings us to Saturday, where Miami, on Wednesday, Mario Cristobal said he's still not sure who's starting. Obviously, if Tyler's healthy, he's going to be the guy. So, if he's healthy, then that puts that debate to rest. But if he's not, then we get this Jake Garcia, Jakari Brown dilemma, where Jake, I think in a lot of people's minds, was, the plan at the start of the year was Tyler was going to be the quarterback this year. He's going to go to the NFL, and then Jake Garcia was going to be the favorite going in. It was going to be a competition with him and Jakari Brown, Jaden Rashada, but he was going to be the favorite.
Definitely.
Obviously, he's gotten his chances a little bit this year. Had one good drive against Middle Tennessee, 2 good drives against Duke, got a win against Virginia, but otherwise it's been pretty rough. Bunch of interceptions against Duke. Middle Tennessee was kind of an impossible. He had one good drive and it was late in the game, and then offense stalled out like it was for the rest of the game. Virginia, I won't say they won in spite of him, but he was not necessarily the reason they won. I guess we should say it was a defensive struggle.
Right.
And now, against Florida State, the biggest spot of his career. Obviously they were down big, so one interception didn't kill them, but biggest spot of his career, he throws a pick pretty much right away. And now I think it's a real debate, obviously, about who is going to be the starting quarterback on Saturday. Jake Garcia at this point is there's no benefit of the doubt for him either. He's going to have to earn this, in practice this week, and potentially going into a game this weekend. I mean, would I rule out the possibility they play 2 quarterbacks? Probably not. It seems like Jakari's going to play no matter what the plan is. But I mean, Jake's gonna have to earn this, and obviously he was always eventually going to have to earn it. It's come faster, and for the most part, he's not yet proved that he is the next guy here at Miami. And it
No,
opens the door for
you-
Ja'Cory Brown.
Yeah, he hasn't I mean, he had his in Virginia against Virginia when Tyler wasn't playing, he did have his shot. And yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I get this. My gut is that Ja'Cory, I could be wrong, is that Ja'Cory gets the nod.
Well, I will say he's played better than Jake Garcia this year, I would say. And obviously his role has been different.
His role has been different, but he has had some nice runs.
On Saturday, again, he was not good. He only threw for about 70 yards and ran for.
He had one 15-yard, I think.
But he ran for 60. And if you think this offense is.
No, he didn't. Yeah.
If you're don't trust this passing attack, then it makes more sense to go with Ja'Cory Brown. And then it's obviously kind of a little bit of an upside play, because as good as Jake Garcia is, quarterbacks like Ja'Cory Brown are, those guys like win the Heisman, right? If it all pans out, like he like Hendon Hooker, or, Cam Newton, like he's got that big physical and athletic ability, that if it all comes together, then he can be really, 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 really good. So I think I wouldn't be, I kind of agree with you. We're basing this on nothing. Obviously, we're not seeing practice.
Right.
Mario's not tipping his hand at all, but Ja'Cory has done more in his role, I think, than Jake Garcia has this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Ja'Cory he definitely hasn't played enough. He did throw a 15-yard pass. They were happy about that last game. His passing, I mean, he's just, I guess, got to develop and grow. And, we'll see what Georgia Tech blitzes a lot, which, that introduces all kinds of stuff as far as the offensive line and other players helping, meaning because their injury situation sure hasn't been easy for any of the quarterbacks. I mean, it's as hard as it can be. It's not like they've been well protected.
We should say, like, Miami, and they were killed by injuries last year too, but they've been really, really hurt by injuries. Obviously, starting quarterback hurt. The star left tackle has not played it. He's played one game and has not started a game all year.
Right.
All three interior linemen have been injured at various points. Jalen Rivers now down and looking unlikely to play on Saturday.
He's not playing. Right. Justice is
the running backs have all been hurt pretty much, except for Henry Parrish, or even Henry Parrish. Henry Parrish missed time too. So pretty much every running back they were counting on has been hurt. Xavier Restrepo has been hurt. Jacoby George has been hurt. The offense, every spot is basically Elijah Arroyo has been hurt. Every spot, someone from the 2 deep depth chart has been hurt. So it's been obviously not smooth for anyone.
No, and I don't think Tyler. I mean, again, my gut is they're going to sit Tyler. Because Tyler now at the beginning of the season, like you said, everybody thought that he'd have a good season, turn pro. Right. And then it would be, who's it going to be between Ja'Cory and Jake. But now it's like big question mark next to Tyler, big question mark next to Jake, and not Ja'Cory. He'll be back, pretty sure about that. But I mean, it's kind of a weird situation. I don't think they want Jake to get any more hurt. And not
Tyler,
Jake, Tyler. And I don't think Tyler wants to. I bet his family is saying, no. I mean, what are they playing for now? Which is a good segue to the bowl thing. But the point is, it's kind of a weird situation. If Tyler is not going pro, and he's not going to go pro, I can't see it in a million years he's not turning pro. So is he going to come back to Miami? I mean, that's a big question mark, as they say. And then or is he going to transfer? Is he going to transfer somewhere? Jake, they've got, the coaches are really they've got a lot to think about when they put quarterbacks in, when they take quarterbacks out and stuff. It's a whole psychological thing also. So, I don't know. And I don't even know if we're going to win this game.
Yeah, I think at the quarterback spot, the one thing I think the only thing they got to do right now is, assuming Tyler's hurt and not playing this weekend,
Right.
You got to pick the guy who's performing the best. Like, you can't play neither of those guys. I know Jake was a big time recruit. I still think he's going to be a good college quarterback, but he is not on the in game. Maybe he's earning it behind the scenes in practice, right? We're not seeing a whole lot of practice.
But it doesn't matter, because even Mario said this week, he said on Monday, well, there's some guys that that do great in practice. They work super hard. They're really good. They're really smart, whatever. But for whatever reason, during the game, it just doesn't happen. And then there's other guys that are a little bit the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they come alive, under the lights. So yeah. I don't.
Anyway, my larger point is, I think with this quarterback situation the way it is right now, they can't be thinking about the political side of things because, because Jake hasn't earned it. Has not proven so far that he is like the future. He's still trying to prove that he's the future, and Jakari Brown is still trying to prove that he's the future. And they're both freshmen, right? Next year they will both be sophomores because Jake redshirted last year. Jakari is not redshirting. Like, they're now at the same point in their clocks, where you gotta let whoever's better earn this job, and there's your guy moving forward. If the other guy transfers, so be it. He didn't win it. If you don't win, sometimes that guy has to transfer, right? It happened sometimes it backfires, right? Joe Burrow leaves Ohio State because he loses the job to Dwayne Haskins, then wins the Heisman and national championship at LSU. But at the same time, Dwayne Haskins was a Heisman finalist. Like, you gotta just you can't be worried about what this means 2 or 3 years down the road, because we don't know what these guys are going to look like 2 or 3 years down the road. And neither of them has proven that they are 2 or 3 years down the road going to be a star. They're still trying to get there. So they just got to play whoever is performing better right now. And from what we can see, it looks like Jakari Brown is performing better than Jake Garcia.
Yeah, I think that's bottom line, really.
And again, they have a good, you lose one of these guys to the portal, you got another good one coming in next year, Jaden Rashada, who's going to have to do the same thing, come in and prove himself. But there's no reason that he can't be as good as either of these guys. He's as highly ranked as Jake Garcia was, 5-star recruit in some people's minds. So yeah, the quarterback position, it's like, so I'll put it, there have been a lot of years where Miami, it's like you kind of just felt like you were scraping the bottom of the barrel, and Malik Rozier, who was not a big recruit, is like all of a sudden the long-term answer at quarterback, and not just not a big time recruit, but also like just not particularly productive as a college quarterback. It's still a good situation, I think, for Miami to have, where even throwing out Tyler, you've got a guy in Jake Garcia, a guy in Jakari Brown, and a guy in Jaden Rashada, who all have the traits of a starting Power 5 college quarterback and have the upside to be a star quarterback at the Power 5 level. So it's not going well for Jake right now, but that doesn't mean, the same way that it's not going well for Mario, it doesn't mean that it's not going to go well in the future. It's just not going well right now. And he's got now he's got to earn it. Or that's why you recruit great quarterbacks every year. It forces these guys to earn it. And if they don't earn it, they can get out of the way for the next guy.
Well, the best quarterback, is always the one that hasn't played yet.
Yeah,
so
that's true too, right? I mean, Jakari could start and he could throw 3 picks too. We haven't seen him have the opportunity to do. He only threw 9 passes on Saturday.
Yeah, and also he threw 9, yeah. And he was 5 for 9. So also what happens if Jake and Tyler transfer? I mean, again, that I'm being obviously facetious about the best quarterback's always the one that hasn't played. These kids are in high school. So what happens then? Then you got Jakari and a kid who's highly ranked, but hasn't
Jaden
played.
Rashada and Emery Williams, another freshman. They have 2 freshmen committed, 2 quarterbacks committed right now.
That's
so.
true. It's just
it can go from good to bad quickly. And it is, I think the biggest, and I think it's been written a lot, but one of the biggest positive that Manny Diaz did for this team was he totally rebuilt that quarterback room. You think of the group that was there when he took over. It was Jaron Williams, N'Kosi Perry, Tate Martell, right? Tate Martell came in that year. Was it the next year? And they got from there to this position where obviously he didn't get Rashada committed or Emery Williams committed, but to this position where you've got a all-conference level quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke, a huge recruit in Jake Garcia, and a really interesting high upside recruit in Jakari Brown, who committed when Manny Diaz was still the coach. So it would be a shame if they squander that group that they put together, especially, and maybe Jaden Rashada is just the answer and he's not here yet, and that's the line that I think Mario is touting a little bit is the answer. It might be this next freshman class, not necessarily guys in the building. But it would be a shame if this group that I think rightfully we were really excited about, and in certain cases, like we saw how good they were with Tyler, it'd be a shame if they kind of let it all go to waste. All right. Should we talk about some of the other freshmen? You mentioned on Wednesday, we got to talk to a bunch of the guys, a couple of them for the first time. We talked to Wesley Bassane a few times, but Nigel Kelly, who just, I think we're up to 4 sacks now. It just feels like every other week he makes a play like that. And Inez Cooper, who is now Miami's starting right guard for the last 2 weeks. And both guys, it's almost, I was talking to Jordan McPherson, our Marlins writer yesterday, and the Marlins are bad most years. So a lot of what he ends up talking about and writing about are the prospects, right? Or the rookies who come up. And I think for a lot of people, that's probably the mentality they're taking with this Miami team, right? It's like they got, we'll mention it at the end here, what's at stake this weekend. They've still got a chance to make a bowl, and a bowl is important. And, they do have a couple of chances left for good wins on the schedule. Not expecting them to beat Clemson, but, that would be a big moment if Mario Cristobal could knock off Clemson in year 1. But the real thing to watch right now is, well, the quarterback spot, if it's Jake or Jakari, that's a big evaluation going forward, as we just extensively discussed. But also, like, Wesley Bassane, is he the future answer at linebacker? Nigel Kelly, can he be the next great Miami defensive end? And as Cooper, do we have an offensive line spot settled now for the next 3-4 years here? So there are interesting young guys, I think, to keep an eye on. And then obviously the guys who were freshmen last, like that, those guys are all going to be back to Leonard Taylor, James Williams, Cam Kinchins. Guys could always transfer, but they've got a young core that remains interesting.
Yeah.
Daryl Jackson,
and they're good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Daryl Jackson, Cam Kinchins is really good. James Williams, speaking yesterday to Wesley Bassane and Inez Cooper and Nigel Kelly, which was a pleasant surprise. They're all excited about the now and the future. I mean, they've definitely bought into Mario. So, and they're believers. So they're just doing whatever the coach says. And I mean, 4 sacks, and he's just gonna get better and better. And Nigel, it's not like,
and it'd be hard for, there's 8 defensive linemen playing. It'd be hard for him to be producing huge numbers. That's really good for what he's doing.
He hasn't started yet.
Yeah, and he's playing 14 snaps a game or something, right? Yeah, he's not
exactly. Yeah, he's good. Bassane, really good. He hasn't started yet. Inez Cooper, amazing. Yeah, right. What he's been thrown into. So, I mean, that's what Mario and the coaching staff are hanging on to kind of. And it's just, it's just after each game now, like that day and the next day is very change. It's very painful when Mario walks into the post game, the post game interview room. It's like, it's horrible, so it feels really bad. And then it starts lightening up a little by Tuesday. And they start looking forward. So,
well, he's not an idiot. He knows he shouldn't be losing these games.
Of course not. No, he definitely shouldn't be. And the kid, I mean, really, this is the first time we talked after Florida State. David, if you could have seen the players like Corey Flagg and the players that walked in after the game, oh my God, in the interview room, I mean, they look like horrible. Yeah. I mean, his head was like hanging at a weird angle. His eyes were kind of, they look, I don't know, like somebody shot him up with some really bad, like sleeping stuff. I don't know. It's like Mario, like they have to go speak to us, I guess. They don't have to, but I guarantee you they didn't want to come in and talk to us. And it was really kind of sad. I mean, so it's, maybe they'll win this week. I don't see it right now, the way it's going. I don't see it. Georgia Tech is, licking their chops or whatever the cliche is.
Yeah.
They're going to blitz like crazy. This poor quarterback.
And they've been good since they fired their coach. That was like back in early October, maybe even the end of September. I don't remember exactly when it was. They've been good since then.
Yeah.
They, getting, I think, on the brink of bowl eligibility. Or at least they have a chance.
Yeah.
So
they're the same as they have.
They're 4-5. Yes, they've got a chance. Which, like, I think they fired their coach at like 0-4 or 1-4. So, like, they've really turned it around. So, it's not an easy one. I mean, Miami's an underdog at Georgia Tech, which
and they're going to have a lot of fans. Guarantee you, the fan. Although Atlanta is a city that loves Miami. That I know they do. They have a lot of Miami fans there, but come on, they're going to fill. I bet they fill that stadium. And at least to me, it's going to be cold. Tomorrow morning, not tomorrow, Saturday morning. I swear, I keep checking and thinking it can't be right. It says 32 degrees in Atlanta. Man. I mean, it's going up, but I can't. I can't. And they have an outdoor press box. Okay, don't feel sorry for us, but it's chilly once it turns dark.
Yeah. All right, we're about to run out of time, but I mentioned what's at stake this weekend. It's kind of a must-win if Miami wants to make a bowl. 4-5 at Georgia Tech, at Clemson, home against Pitt to end the year. If they lose this one, then obviously they have to beat Clemson, and Clemson is more beatable this year than they were 2 or 3 years ago, I think. But I mean, they're still a much better team than Miami. And Pitt's not going to be easy either. That team's headed toward. I think they win their 6th game. I think on Saturday, or their 5th maybe. They're a better team than Miami too. So Miami's going to be underdogs. It looks like in all 3 of these, obviously, considering they are up in Atlanta this weekend.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot at stake for Miami, Georgia Tech, which is like not something we, this was penciled in as like one of the Miami's late season tune-ups before they go to Clemson, and now they're an underdog and they really have to win. And as I mentioned, a couple of guys talked about the importance of bowl eligibility this year. I mean, we just talked about all the young guys they have, and obviously year one of a new coach. Like, wouldn't you love for those extra practices for Wesley Bassint and Nigel Kelly, and maybe they start the bowl game after some of the seniors decide not to play or whatever? Like,
oh, for sure. Oh God, it'll be a young bowl game. Yeah. I guarantee you. And Pitt, by the way, is 5-4. So I wish I could look at the schedule this week, because for Pitt. But can you imagine if Pitt goes into Miami game like 5-1, if both teams need to win the game?
Yeah, I
don't know. It's a bad situation anyway you look at it, and a bowl would be great. Yes, bowl would be. God knows where it would be, but it would be great.
Feels Fenway Bowl to me.
Isn't that another outdoor press box?
I don't know. I've never been to Fenway.
Yeah, I have. So anyway,
Maybe Gasparilla, but like they got to win. I mean, if they win this weekend, then like we don't even have to think about it, because, or if they lose this weekend, we don't even have to think about it, because it becomes very unlikely there. As I mentioned, though, they do have like all signs are pointing to this not happening, but like there are still, if they beat Clemson, if they beat Pitt to end the year, those are some positive moments that Mario Cristobal can build on, but it's just the signs just aren't there.
And Clemson, by the way, we have to wrap this up, but Clemson is 8-1 now.
Yeah.
Okay. And they've already clinched a spot in ACC title game. So who knows if they're gonna, I don't know, when they play Miami, like take it easy a little, not if you know what I mean, like play some other guys and also check out some young players. And I don't know, they're in the game already.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're not out of the playoff race. So I don't expect that unless they lose this weekend. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. That's it for us.
They lose to Miami.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's it for us. You can follow Susan on Twitter at @SMillerDegnan. She'll be up in Atlanta this weekend for Miami, Georgia Tech. One of the most important feeling Miami, Georgia Tech games in quite some time. Miami really needs something positive, I think, right now. And Georgia Tech on paper is the moment to get that. But also on paper, Miami's an underdog. So it's not going to be easy. Certainly not as easy as we thought it was going to be once upon a time. You can follow me on Twitter at DBWilson2. I'll watch from home. I'll tweet about it or whatever. It was good to be in the air during the first half of Miami, Florida State, and like off of social media and all that kind of stuff. Woo! Just watch it on my seat back. And by the time I landed, I was like, all right, I can watch the World Series instead. So thanks as always for listening. And we will talk to you guys next week.